You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker, what you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess, screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way, close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown! I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Clark from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it! Hits it!
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Joe Flacco to throw on first down. Airs it out, picked off around the 23-yard line. Taron Johnson at the 15, angling left, looking to cut off a block. He's at the 10, he's at the 5, turns the corner, and he takes it back to the house. A touchdown, a pick six by Taron Johnson on the first play on offense today by the Indianapolis Colts. Flacco on a screen. It's picked off, intercepted by a defensive lineman. And that is Austin Johnson as they were trying to set up the screen to Jonathan Taylor to the right side. He was covered up by Johnson. They're going to put it down to the 19-yard line, so a 29-yard field goal here from Tyler Bass. And the chip shot is up, and it is good. Ball in the near hash for Flacco. Takes the snap. Counter give to the right side. Taylor stretching it out. Yes. Outside the numbers. 40, 45. Down the far sideline. He's got a chance. 40, 30. One man to beat. Cuts back to the 20. And then he's pushed forward. Tackled down inside the 10 to the Buffalo 8-yard line. Here's a 27-yard field goal by Matt Gay. Out of the hold of Sanchez, and this is up, and it is good. So the Colts are on the board. 3rd and goal at the 2 as they race to the line of scrimmage. Flacco under center. Play action, rolling to his left. Throws upfield into the end zone. Yes, sir, that's a catch. Tyler Goodson, touchdown, I-N-D-Y. Josh Allen backs the throw deep. Drop on play action, has all day, throws upfield, picked off by the Colts. They're on the return. They're at the 40, 35 with E.J. Speed on the interception. Matt Gay realigns himself on this field goal formation. 24-yard field goal here. Snap, placement, and the short kick is up, and it is good. And right up the middle is Josh Allen. He's at the 5, and he's going to score a touchdown. Design run for the quarterback.
Yep. Red zone.
It's a 15-yard run. Make that a 13-yard run by Josh Allen. Rolling to the right side is Josh Allen. That pass is intercepted over on the far sideline by Kenny Moore, and the Colts get it right back. Play action, backing the throw. Flacco, great protection, stands in, flies it downfield, and it is almost caught by Alec Pierce. On the ricochet, it's intercepted by Taylor Rapp. Hands off to Cook, wide open, and he's going to race for the pylon and somersault his way into the end zone across the goal line. James Cook, 2-yard rushing touchdown, and that's the exclamation point here today for the Buffalo Bills. Final score here in Indianapolis. It's the Buffalo Bills 30 and the Indianapolis Colts 20.
Matt Taylor right there on the call, the Colts Radio Network, and the Colts lose again yesterday to the Buffalo Bills. That final was 30-20. Josh Allen, 2 picks in a game in which you would think at home the Colts could take advantage of. They simply could not. A pick 6 on the first offensive play. Joe Flacco and all 3 interceptions. Joe Flacco remains your starting quarterback against the Jets coming up on Sunday at 1 o'clock. That question was asked. Shane Steichen met in front of the media a little bit earlier today over Zoom. And obviously that was the first thing that was asked. And the Steichen response has been they are going through a process. This is a process. It is a process of losing. And it's probably going to be a process of losing even if Anthony Richardson is in there. But honestly, if you had any thought whatsoever that this guy had a future here, how in the world would he not play? How would he not start after what you've witnessed the last 2 weeks? Come on, it's over. So who's really pulling the strings? And the problem is that everybody's going to go down with this ship. And I said that at the outset. Everybody is going to take the major fall on this. How can you not? And again, I'll tell you, I'm not a believer in Anthony Richardson long-term here. There's not been nearly enough, but as far as Why not now? Why not now? I question whether or not you would see Sam Ehlinger if Flacco ever got hurt. And obviously, they continue to ask what this process is about, obviously asking what Richardson has done. And all I can tell you is going back at the very beginning of this, it was about his professionalism or lack thereof and how that had to get better, how that had to improve, and it could improve by watching. There is zero improvement by watching going on with this group. Now you're basically back, going all the way back to the offseason and saying, you know what, come hell or high water, this guy is going to play. He's our future, and we have to see, and we have to know. And now you have been, for almost a month now, been going on a guy that's 39 years of age that is playing bad football. It's not like you're raising the game on anybody here. I mean, that whole outcry of Flacco is now over. It's easy to slide Anthony Richardson back as a starter if you wanted to. If you wanted to, or if somebody above you wanted to. It'd be easy right now. Everybody out there that would understand, nobody understand or understood prior. And now what you have going on, we'll play what Kenny Moore had to say after the game yesterday regarding guys not working hard enough. And I just think this comes down to, and we've been down this path before, if there's one thing that experience tells you, tells me, and experience these players have, is going through some FUBAR. Is going through some crap and some bad times. And that's exactly where they are right now again. It's incredibly like history repeating itself. But back to Richardson for a moment. I've shared with you over the past couple of weeks, what I was told, and this is from the Richardson side of things, of how they wanted him to become more of a professional. And I brought up the quarterback, Jaden Daniels, the rookie for Washington, for a reason, because it was brought up to me. I just didn't pull that out of thin air. And how he gets there at 4 a.m. and how he is ready when everybody else gets there and how he goes about the business of being a young, well-thought-after, hopefully long-term elite-level quarterback in the NFL. Yeah, I just didn't pull that out of thin air. So, when is the punishment enough? When does it end? How long does this last? And who really seriously has been offended by something here? And I know a lot of people ask, there has to be something else going on. I completely understand why you'd say there has to be something else going on. Is at this point in time, I think you also have to watch out and make sure you keep track of the organization. And this thing is backpedaling. It's not staying the same, and it sure as hell not improving. It is moonwalking. And slowly dissolving into, if it already wasn't, one of the worst organizations out there. That's how everybody, I'm just not saying that for the sake of being on the radio here. That's how this place is viewed right now. I'm not just talking about the NFL either. And I said this to Jake on my way in when we did the crossover. You can really tell now because you get guys like Pat McAfee and Jeff Saturday coming off the top rope. Now, honestly, Jeff Saturday is pointing the finger at Chris Ballard. And that's the easiest finger to point. And really, that should have been dealt with years ago, and it wasn't. But surely, if there's an axe to grind in all of this, I'm sure Jeff Saturday would have one with Chris Ballard. Because you remember a couple of years ago how all that was handled. And when Saturday was brought in on an interim and, Ballard really had nothing to say about it because clearly he didn't want it. He didn't want to be a part of it. But when Pat McAfee starts coming off the top rope at this organization and wondering how Anthony Richardson has the vaguest idea of how to be professional with that group. And saying that there are no professionals over there, that's a lot right there. That tells you all you need to know. Yeah, this thing goes to the very top. I've always said that. What we don't know is exactly what has pushed this thing beyond the limits. Because now, it's almost now, it is either something egregious or it's simply out of spite. I mean, you know the Seinfeld episode of Spite. Is it out of spite? The process of learning, the process of being a professional. And granted, don't get me caught up in, I think this guy's going to be a savior. He's not, but there's no reason to do what you're doing right now. I don't care what the mathematical numbers say, and you know how I go with that. I don't care about the math. I'll tell you must win when I believe it should be a must win. I don't care how many games they have left. I don't care where they are. And you can tell by this entire situation that they're not about ready to win anything. And while you feel good, I don't know if you do or not. I don't know how you can feel good about this. But let's just say, for example, hey, you know what? The defense turned over Josh Allen a couple of times. Maybe there's some hope here. Quickly, what's going to happen is they'll take that one step forward and then two back and make you feel hopeless once again. You got to flush out. You got to flush out in some form or fashion or get a change here in what is going down, because this is going to have a profound effect for years. And granted, you've already gone through years of this. So being the last one there and the first one to leave, that gets you this type of suspension. Tapping on your helmet gets you that type of suspension. You know, maybe not doing what you're supposed to do as a starting quarterback in the NFL. So what was said prior, and believe me, you guys all hear this stuff too. For one, I tell you about it when I hear it, or at least if I think if it's worthwhile and I can trust it, I'll tell you about it. And believe me, there's a lot of stuff I haven't shared that I just don't think you can trust. That doesn't mean it's inaccurate either. But this is the stuff I feel that you can trust, and it's not coming from the Colts side of things either. You know, this was the Richardson side talking about how much better he has to be. Not even the Colts side of things. You know, I would guess that Pat McAfee gets the Colts side of things here. But that's truly all you need to know. When these guys are that fed up with everything around here, then it seems absolutely hopeless. And there is no overstepping the bounds. There is no making this mountain out of a molehill. This is complete and utter foobar coming off of the year before last of complete and utter foobar. I'll be honest with you. I have never seen a coach go from, now this was from the owner, the Don Shula comparison, but going from Don Shula comparisons to being tagged an offensive wizard or genius, and going from the penthouse to the outhouse as quickly as Shane Steichen. And assuming he's going to ride this thing out, either being the good soldier as the head coach, or if this is his idea, either way, now he's going to get swept up in all this. It's not just going to be the general manager. It's just not going to be others in the organization or a 22-year-old quarterback. It makes 0 sense sitting where we are right now that you don't go and see what you have in a 22-year-old, even if you believe you know what you have with a 22-year-old, which is certainly a part of that equation. I feel the same way. You're going to say, well, how have you seen enough? I think, to me, I feel like I have, but that's all I can go on. And I always say this, all right, so if you think this guy's going to transition into some elite level, some great quarterback, you got to tell me more. Where have you seen this? Because it was a back foot 60-yard bomb for a touchdown in week number 1. That's it. You know, something out of Tecmo Super Bowl? Is that the reason why? So, no, I am not a believer in it, but I am a believer in doing smart things, and we're all too familiar with this organization doing stuff that, simply put, is just not very bright. And makes zero sense. And you may look in the mirror over there, and this makes all the sense in the world to you, but the rest of the NFL universe thinks you're crazy. And it's not all on them. Not everybody else can be wrong. Oh, and by the way, too, you've got a leaky hull. Your house is coming a little bit unwound here. You've got Kenny Moore coming out. You got the Kenny Moore sound from yesterday, too? Grab that for me when you're ready. Give me the thumbs up when you're ready. Kenny Moore calling out some folks after the game yesterday. James?
I don't think everybody is working as hard as possible, and obviously it's showing. I'm not the type to sugarcoat it, honestly. If I don't think the urgency is there. I don't think the details are there, so I don't think the effort is there, and I don't see everything correlating from meetings to practice to the games, and it shows.
All right, who are we talking about right there? From Kenny Moore yesterday after the game. That's made its rounds basically virally throughout social media. Who are we talking about there? A lot of people have speculated. And I believe right before that he mentioned that it was non-quarterback related. Not everything can be about the quarterback. I mean, certainly a large portion of it is about the quarterback. But what are they trying to protect the locker room or the rest of the world from regarding Richardson besides being late to stuff? And by the way, when you say, well, you don't even know that's true, maybe Ballard put that out. Listen, it's true. When their side cops to it or owns it, it's true. That doesn't mean he's a bad guy. He's just not a very good quarterback that has been late. He's an unproven quarterback that has this space-age technology in a physique that doesn't know how to play the position. And I think we all can sit around and suggest that now is a terrific time to go ahead and give him some of that experience. And I'm assuming it all will transpire exactly how we've seen it the past 2 weeks. But you're rudderless right now. This is not proving anything to anybody. And what's interesting about this, Shane Steichen has gone out of his way to shoulder all of this blame. And now he gets it. To shoulder all the blame, to be professional. This is how you need to be professional. And then Kenny Moore basically goes the route where, and I know that a lot of former players and even Quentin Nelson and Zaire Franklin and Julian Blackmon backed him up, but for the most part, you wouldn't view that as being professional, calling out your teammates like that. And I know a lot of people would suggest, hey, you know what, that's what needs to be done. I mean, hell, that's what needed to be done how many years ago? I mean, it's probably made more easy now because this thing is absolutely screwed up beyond belief. It is one of the worst organizations out there right now. That's how it's viewed. I'm not making this up. I am giving you fact after fact after fact. And the only way to dig out of that is to prove you are no longer worthy of that reputation. And it just seems like every single time, every single moment, every single decision, there's even more proof of why you've been tagged with that reputation. You do it to yourself. That's what's amazing. All right, you can pick a bad quarterback, and believe me, when you pick number 4 overall, people said, all right, so who are they going to pick anyway? I don't give a damn who it is. If you mess up number 4, you're out, you're gone. These guys know the rules. These rules are hard and fast. And frankly, you were lucky if you're the general manager to even be in the room of selecting number 4 overall at that point in time. Most guys, even with winning records, even with just a microcosm of success, still would have been gone with a record in that ballpark by now. Even had you won. So you make that pick, and it looks like this right now. This is year number 2, more than halfway through. And what do you know? What do you know about number 4 overall? There is a complete lack of belief in Richardson, except for what I've said, the younger generation that thinks he's out of a video game. Yeah, I know. I've drawn my conclusion, and it's probably an unfair conclusion, but until proven otherwise, that's it. And how are you going to prove otherwise when Joe Flacco gets the start again against the Jets coming up on Sunday? I said this yesterday. Actually, let's double back. I go all the way back. This goes even back in the offseason. I said, when people ask, so what happens if, and I think this was when they brought in Flacco, what happens if he's not ready for prime time and Flacco comes in? Do you bench him? And I say, you know what? The moment you bench him, everybody is gone. Everybody is done. And you tell me how that does not look 100% accurate right now. That once you bench him, he will never play again, and then everybody's going to be gone. How does it look right now any different than how I described it? And then what's this process? What is the whole process of learning? You sit back and learn how to call out your teammates now? Is that the process? I mean, hell, I think I'd rather you be late to a meeting or a treatment, right? I mean, you don't want that. That is a sure sign that you're a part of a clown show. And believe me, if there's one thing that you know how to be a part of or what to be a part of and what's going on when it occurs here, it's a clown show. That's what happens when you have one. So that's what you're going to sit back and that's a part of the process. You're going to sit back and learn. You're learning from Flacco. Flacco looks in an absolute daze out there. He looks in a daze. I guess I would be too. I guess you would be too, right? It's like, what the hell is happening here? Every time I throw it, somebody in a different jersey catches it. It's not supposed to be this way. It's not supposed to go that way. And then for Shane Steichen, too, either going along with this or spearheading this, which I'm sorry, I don't believe whatsoever, he's still going to get swept up by it all. How can you not? What endearing quality now is going to be worth if you go out there and, get a new general manager, a new decision maker. So, oh, yeah, by the way, you got to come in here and you got to have, we've been through that before, right? That's not working, is it? One of the things I didn't really get yesterday that all has been swept under the rug of uncertainty here with everything else that's going on with quarterback and with FUBAR was, did you notice that late in the game when everything seemed to be lost, like Jonathan Taylor was still running around out there? There's a time to get Trey Sermon in the game. Good Lord. What the hell? Taylor should have been in the game in Minneapolis when it really mattered, and then yesterday it really didn't matter late, and he's still running around? What? Yeah, somebody's going to have to better explain it. But again, Shane Steichen specifically regarding how Richardson can improve. Quote, you got to go through the process every single day. He's a great person, phenomenal human being, not ever losing faith or trust in him. We're going through a process right now. How about, I think he's still going to be a great quarterback. I mean, hell, you're a phenomenal person, James. You put up with me every day. James, by the way, was still pissy from Friday when I got in here today. You're a great person, a phenomenal human being. More on that coming up. Stephen Holder's going to be good in the 5 o'clock hour. And this is an all too familiar spot. I do want to bring up the Pacers. Shout out to them yesterday. Benedict Mathurin, 38. Tyrese Halliburton, as we talked about, the straw that stirs, 35. Miles had 26. And I can't wait until Tom Thibodeau just runs that group of Knicks right into the ground. How about that rotation? Yeah, we'll play about 6 guys, and that's it. It's November. The Pacers are down how many dudes? And they got Quentin Jackson and all these guys in rotationally and still giving their dudes a blow. And Thibodeau's out there running his dudes into the ground. And Mikal Bridges looks like he's into the ground, by the way. That coming up. And IU 5th ranked. That is incredible. The saving grace of football around here. The 5th ranked Indiana Hoosiers and a win over Michigan. We'll get to that and a lot more for you. 239-1070. Email address is jmv1075thefan.com. Inside the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live. Thank you for joining us in there. The stream, the app, HD radio, tickets to give away. And I have heard that another Moyer Fine Jewelers contest forthcoming this week as well. I'll let you in on that info coming up. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
If somebody gets in your face and calls you a I want you to be nice.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Joe's a veteran guy, like I've said. He's had 2 games that he'd want back. But again, he goes out there, throws some good passes. Obviously, the interceptions, there's, 3 of those. There's 2 that he'd want back. Again, you just stick with it. You grind through the process of this whole thing, man. It really is a process. So we're going through that process right now, and right now, Joe's still our guy.
Let me tell you this. That's a quote. It's a soundbite of somebody that's running out of words, or in this case, has run out of words. Roll that one more time, would you please, James? I'm sorry to do that, but this is Shane Steichen from earlier today.
Joe's a veteran guy, like I've said. He's had 2 games that he'd want back. But again, he goes out there, throws some good passes. Obviously, the interceptions, there's, 3 of those. There's 2 that he'd want back. Again, you just stick with it. You grind through the process of this whole thing, man. It really is a process. So we're going through that process right now, and right now, Joe's still our guy.
That's a guy that doesn't have deep dialogue in the first place. He's completely run out of words. The guy threw 3 interceptions, very easily could about 5 been picked. Easily about 5. One on the first stinking play offensively of the game was a pick 6. At this point, the on-the-field play, Anthony Richardson, he got pulled for much less than that, which is why I told you all the time once he got yanked that it was over, and I still think it's over. Why in the world would you not go back right now? What is worth it? And especially when you have to try to explain it. That term lipstick on a pig, that's not, you got people everywhere rolling their eyes and going, what? Joe Flacco's rolling his eyes. You guys watched that game. It's like, did we watch the same game? And this will also sweep him up. I have not been around a coach here that has gone again from the penthouse to the outhouse so quickly in the minds of the fan base. I would grab the thesaurus and find something else other than processed. James, can you look up some other words? Because, my vocabulary is very thin, being from Greene County. Hey, by the way, too, shout out to CBS. Those overhead shots of Memorial Stadium in Bloomington, how many times did you guys get to witness watching this on TV? The majestic pageantry that was late fall in Greene County, Indiana. You could see it. I saw so much of, I think I almost saw the Owensburg Water Tower. Just majestic landscape. Incredible backdrop. Thank you, CBS, for that. Look good. JMV, that mindset needs to be with Anthony Richardson, not Joe. The process should be with Anthony Richardson. This is in 2021, solid roster. And with that, as you can tell, they're done. There is no process with Anthony Richardson, right? That's how you have to explain it. What process are we talking about? What practice reps? Right around 0? Maybe 5? Look back and admire the professionalism of a locker room now going after one another. Oh, yes. Jeremiah Wheatley, what process? Better draft pick for next year again? Listen, I've stated this. Anthony Richardson's not going to go out there and do any better, but it is crazy how they're handling all this. And that's why I've given you, I think, a lot of information that I've been privy to, but there's got to be more. There has to be more, right? Does Jim Irsay just not like him? Would that be fair to ask that question right now? Do you just not like? We knew how he felt about Carson Wentz. Hell, Carson Wentz barely got back on the team plane going out of Jacksonville after his last game. And somewhere around in Zionsville, he is shaking his head affirmatively right now. But was that it? Has that decision been made? This is most definitely not the guy. Has to be. SPT chimes in. We have reached the trust the process portion of this debacle. I mean, who is protecting who here? Other words than process? Did you look this up in a thesaurus for me? Because I'm not very bright. I need other words other than process. We got to hand those out. Got something over there? If you don't worry about it. Yeah, go ahead and concentrate on what you're doing. JMV, I'm not saying even need to go back, which I think they do. At least put the best athlete you have on the team in some formations in order to give yourself a better opportunity. 4th and 2, and you drop back with Flacco. Just shows they have no desire to try and be competitive. Again, Greg, you bring up a great point of why they have no desire of playing number 5 ever again. There's your lack of desire. Agreed? James, help me. Help me out here. I'm not quite a wordsmith.
So we've got some good ones here. We've got cognitive operation.
Holy crap, that's way too difficult.
Operation, function, subprogram, procedure.
Okay.
Procedure's a good one. Subroutine.
Subroutine.
Summons, I guess, is a synonym for process or procedure. So those appear to be the best ones. Right
okay.
there.
How about for me, like learning directly? Sub-procedure? Learning directly. Ed's at 239-1070. Ed, lead us off on this incredibly glorious day. By the way, happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there as well. We should not leave that or at least explain to people the level of importance of this day throughout the course of the afternoon. Ed, go ahead. How are you?
Well, I'm doing just fine. I think this whole thing down there should be part of Ringling Brothers Circus. I think right now they need to take and play Richardson for the rest of this year, get whatever record they need, draft a quarterback. I don't even care if it's Rourke from Indiana next year, and turn Richardson into a tight end with the athleticism he has. He's just not a quarterback. He didn't have the experience in college, and they're asking him to read defenses, do everything else. I'm done with it.
Ed, anything else? I appreciate your call.
No, it's just like I said, I've been a fan of them since 1968, and I've seen it all. And this whole thing down there is a debacle, all the way from the top to where they're at.
Eddie, thank you very much for this call. Here's the thing. We're not going overboard here. This is accurate portrayals of what is happening. It's accurate. And it's not the same thing at all, but the discourse, what do they say nowadays? And I hate using this, and I never do. The vibe. I never use bro or vibe. I do say brother, which also sounds weird to me. But the vibe, it feels like 2022 because things dissolve at such a pace to where it goes from being serious and irritating and make you mad to you laughing about it and wanting to disassociate yourself from it. Remember how that felt 2 years ago? What in the hell are we doing? That's what this feels like right now. And this is not one of these cases like somebody yesterday, I can't believe how you're overblowing. There's no overblowing this. This is how the rest of the NFL views this organizationally right now. And that's how the rest of the NFL viewed it 2 years ago. It is a very familiar theme. And that's unfortunate because you do not want to be tagged with that. Jeffrey's on line 5 at 239-1070. Happy Veterans Day to you, Jeffrey. Thank you for the call.
Thank you, JMV, and thank you for the vets and those that are still serving today. I was at the game yesterday, and I'll tell you what, that first quarter felt like an eternity of lifetime because the first play of the game, the pick, and then you're spot on. We kept asking ourselves, Why is JT still in the game this late in the game?
Yeah, when he wasn't a week prior when that game was actually in the balance here, when you really needed him. And then it just makes and that's some Steichen stuff right there that makes zero sense.
Well, thank you for talking to me today, and I appreciate your show, and I appreciate James. Thanks.
Jeffrey, that is very kind of you. Corey Kinney says, JMV, it's time for the annual Apollo 13 tweets. What do we have on this ship that's good? That would be Gene Kranz, flight director, Apollo 13. Not just that mission. I think a couple of different missions from the great Apollo 13 film of 1995. I have no idea what's good on this ship right now. I just know this. I know when you have players start sniping. I know when you have players start griping and bringing stuff up. That is the sign that things have dissolved to the point to where they are right now, and it is not overstating to describe it as FUBAR. And not overstating whatsoever. This is an absolute mess. And it's not like they're going to clarify it, even if they were to, on Wednesday, come to their senses and decide to start Anthony Richardson, because, again, my thought is he's not going to be any better. You're going to find out, I think, what we all already know. But this handling of it, unless there is something, there has to be one huge nugget that nobody knows about right now that's under double secret probation we're completely unaware of, because otherwise this makes zero sense. Pacers with a win yesterday over the Knicks in impressive fashion. I think it was safe to say best game of the season all the way around, and that followed the worst game of the season in Charlotte Friday night all the way around. That and IU ranked 5th, IU over Michigan. IU gets a week-long break. And Ohio State at noon in Columbus a week from Saturday on the horizon as well. That and more coming up. Sit tight.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, we had a meeting this morning with those guys. I think anytime you lose, right, it's frustrating, especially 3 in a row, games that you could have won. But I think the biggest thing is you learn from that. You're going to go through adversity in every football season. You're going to have it, some more than others, and we're going through some adversity right now. But, we get to decide how this thing ends. We choose it as players and coaches of going through the process and grinding through it and getting ready for the Jets. And that's what we can control is getting better every single day and getting ready for the Jets.
It's Shane Steichen right there. So this is the path in which you're choosing. The path. Is there anybody in their right mind, and I don't give a damn if you never have been to a practice in your stinking life, but does anybody believe that Flacco, with what we have seen here recently, is on a fast track to leading this team anywhere near the postseason? Yeah, even with the good fortune this team had go on around them yesterday, if there's one thing we've noted for the past how many years, more than a handful of years, they rarely, if ever, take advantage of actual good fortune in the first place. What would give anybody an indication? If this dude did something wrong, I get that you want to protect him, I guess, but it's got to be something more than just the professionalism and being on punishment for that. There were moments yesterday where you could have slotted him in and got some use from him. And short yardage, 4th and 2 being one. Never thought about doing that. It's weird, too, because you go back the week prior and he goes, yeah, those short yardage situations, and kind of, acted coy in his response that, yeah, you'd probably utilize him in specialty situations. None of that. But last week, you take Jonathan Taylor out in arguably one of the biggest moments of the game. And then yesterday, you leave Jonathan Taylor in when basically all was lost. Somebody's going to have to explain this to me. And again, we don't go to practice. We don't know everything, but we do have eyes. We do see. Oftentimes, they'll drive you nuts because they're so much smarter than everybody in the room. And if you've known anybody like that, if you've ever been driven nuts by somebody like that, oftentimes the rest of the room is more accurate in certain situations. Now, you're going to ask me, you think this is all on Steichen? Until proven otherwise, I don't. But do I think he's going to go down with this particular shot? How would you not? There's no way Ballard comes back. People suggest Ballard's trying to save his job. I mean, hell, he hadn't made the postseason in the past, and he's done a hell of a job of saving up until now. Why would he need to change course? So this finally going to be it? Well, now I've got to do something completely. We can't do this Richardson thing. Now I've really got to win in year number 8. Wait a minute. Now I've really got to make the postseason. I mean, come on. The ship has sailed. There's no reason to do it right now. But if you bring in another general manager, there's no reason for that general manager not to want to bring in somebody that he knows, trusts. You're going to mix up the whole general manager coaching situation again like we've seen not work in the past? We not learn anything? Can we not learn a damn thing? Listen, I know I'm not very bright, and I struggle in that capacity, and I'll tell you all that daily. You just not learn anything? What is here to save? Seems to me, am I wrong about this? It would seem to me that if you're Chris Ballard and you really wanted to save your job, as you have been so incredibly solid in doing over the past years, it seems to me the way to save it is for the guy that you picked number 4 overall to go in there and show that he's actually worth something and not standing on the sideline. That's the way to prove it. Just like the way to prove to the locker room or anybody else that Richardson is not the tap-out guy and is not that soft and truly just didn't understand in the moment was to put him back out there and see what he can do and maybe find something to get everybody back on board. I mean, is the leadership in that locker room so far gone right now that you can never put him back in? Seriously, correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't Ballard more easily save his gig, which he has done, again, so greatly in the past, if Richardson shows signs of being something, as opposed to sitting on his ass and then knowing what we know right now? Yes, no. 4 o'clock hour. You and I straight ahead. Stephen Holder after that. Flying Toasters tickets. What a great local band. That coming up too. Sit tight. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
You just got your asses whipped by a bunch of damn nerds.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Not enough. You know, if we're going, if it's a roller coaster, it's not good enough. So I think, you know, one of our pillars is consistency, and that's on everybody. So it's not just on the offense, not just on special teams or defense. It's all of us as a team, and we've been preaching, you know, playing complementary football, and we just haven't been doing it.
Hey, welcome back. Hour 2 of this show, and in large part sitting around wondering why we are where we are as far as the quarterback is concerned, because let's face it, the Flacco ship has sailed. It has sailed, and to me, for those that suggest that Chris Ballard saves his job with Flacco and that's him, that's his call, and do I think that's above? I do think it's above Steichen. The Steichen goes along with it. But wouldn't it be better if this thing worked out with Richardson? Because if it doesn't work out, there's no way. Like, there is no way now in the world that there's going to be a 9th year as general manager here. None. You know, people are asking me that. Hey, what do you think? And again, I don't think Anthony Richardson is going to be good. I don't think he is the future quarterback here. But this is just a lot of nonsense to me right now, wasting everybody's time as they are. The Flacco thing is not working, and what you get out of it is when you're, I guess, trying to teach him the process, and a lot of that for Richardson, evidently, according to his head coach, a part of that process is professionalism. Then you got veterans sniping in the locker room afterwards with call-out statements. Yeah. There are just so many hypocritical aspects of all this. It's just bad business. Consistently being a loser or wallowing in mediocrity is one thing. But to make these brash statements and then to move away from them, to do something completely different, maybe they don't want to bend to public pressure. And again, maybe there's something more than what I have explained to you regarding some of the issues of Richardson. I just thought by now, I asked this yesterday, so will the punishment end here anytime soon? I said at the outset, though, I said once you bench Richardson, it's all over. And then I said it's all over for everybody. At the time, I felt this was something that was going to be survivable for the head coach because at the time he was viewed differently. Now he's basically lumped in with everybody else. That's where we are. That's what everybody is getting out of this. And while he was a very nice human being, you don't want to be described as transitioning or evolving into Frank Reich as a head coach here. That's not how you want it. That's not how you want to be viewed as a football coach here. And that is all too familiar of a tone, all too common of a statement being made right now. I've been around this place long enough to know I don't expect them to come out and give us every single detail about what happened. I am surprised that we haven't heard more, some of the leakage. Because we did get some of that Schefter leakage as to why there has been, a change in direction a couple of weeks ago when this was first announced. And that's when I thought right then and there what I'd said. My statement all along had been if he ever gets benched, anything other than injury, he was done. And that solidified it because that sounded like that came from somebody in the organization. Now, I could tell you what I tell you doesn't. And that's something that even the Richardson side understands that needed to be addressed. You can't be the last one there and the first one to leave. You know, all this stuff that can lead to locker room discourse or unhappiness or the lack of unity, which clearly, when you're trying to keep yourself out of that and keep from your locker room coming apart, it sounded like a locker room that was coming apart. You're pointing fingers now. Doesn't get worse than that, does it? I mean, it can, but that's pretty bad. So how has any of this helped? It hasn't. Hasn't helped an ounce. Hasn't helped in the winning category. And really, what it hinders is the future thought. I say this all the time, and sometimes you guys don't believe me, but I've been around here long enough to know by the time I roll in here for 7, 8, and 9 hours of pissing and moaning about this football team, oftentimes people check out because you've heard it all before. Now, I try to offer you different thoughts, bits and pieces of information that maybe you don't get over the course of the day earlier. I tried to add that in, but you still essentially get the same tone, and nothing wears people around here out more than that. So this is non-beneficial. I'm not getting any benefit whatsoever from this. Like, my thought all along has been, can you guys hurry up and put this whole organization on the rack and fix it, do something with it, and get back on track? Back on track when everybody took it for granted when they won all the time, and 11, 12, 13 games was, oh, by the way, ho-hum, yawn. Can you get back to those moments instead of knocking around like you have no idea where you're going? Because, honestly, you don't. You have no idea. Flying by the seat of your pants, pulling things out of your ass. It's funny. That's how this organization looks. That's how I expected Anthony Richardson to look at quarterback. To fly by the seat of your pants. Very unconventional. Just all of a sudden pulling things out of your ass. We saw that. Just makes zero sense. And again, the only thing that would convince me otherwise is if there was something else that was going on. So there has to be. There are lots of rumors out there, and I only tell you about stuff that I actually hear that I trust. And it's far too easy. All I have to do is log on to X or anything else to find out some of those rumors. But I do go with the people that I trust. And I do know this. I know that his side understood why there needed to be a change. He understood how he had to be better and more professional, but this got to be something else, doesn't it? Because by now it's over. The whole game, if Flacco gives you the best chance to win, what? What is the best chance here? And by the way, too, this team overall, just come on. The best chance to do what? What do you honestly think it's going to do? And people ask about saving Ballard's job. And, I thought Jeff Saturday made some comments this morning on a podcast he does with Dominic Foxworth about football. And, talks about how some of that stuff is put out there. It's kind of angling that, Ballard is the one that wants to see Flacco to save his gig. And I maintain this, that Ballard has been a hell of an operator to maintain his gig the way that it is. But to better do that is to have the 22-year-old work out. Not to be competitive in games versus crapwater teams in December with a 39-year-old where you're going nowhere and is going to be done and clean out his locker the moment the season's over. I'm always all for trying different circumstances or situations if things don't work, but this makes zero sense. And I've always said it, when it makes zero sense, when the public or the fan base or the media, when they're right about things, It makes the organization look stinking hopeless. You can't be right about everything and then have to hear about these football guys about how, everything goes on inside and nobody knows. Yeah, some things, again, we do have eyes. We can see. It makes zero sense right now. JMV. The Colts continue to feel that they're fooling the media and the fans with their attitude. I don't even know, honestly, Skivs, if they're trying to. I think that I would have people were asking me this. All right, so where do you think this comes? And I know that was dismissed early on coming from Jim, but that's because if you're making an honest evaluation on this path right now, how would any football man, knowing what we know, unless there is something else that is so stratospherically damning on the interior that we're unaware of right now, how does any football man make this decision now? And then, you know everything. How was that made? That decision has to be made for them. Has to be. You think Shane Steichen looks in the mirror practicing what he says and says process 500 times and believes in what he's saying? Does he still have a deeply rooted belief in Flacco? Hell, he probably doesn't have a belief in Richardson either. He may not have a belief in anything. He may not want to be here next year. He may rather be an OC somewhere. Hell, I don't know if I blame him. But that's part of the issue. You also, just being a part of this, get swept up in it. And he is absolutely swept up in it. If you were to ask me earlier this year, if they were to pull the plug on Richardson, non-injury division, and play Flacco, that it was over for Richardson here and everybody else here. And I thought Steichen would be somebody that could sidestep it. I'm not so sure whatsoever he's going to be able to do that now. How do you go by this process and then you plan on running it back with Richardson next year and then doing the same thing, running back this same team? That's what you plan on doing? Yeah, good luck with that. What is up there? That looks like from a long time ago right there. I think we have just disappeared on whatever that is. There I am right there. Look, that's much better. 239-1070 is the number. I do want to get into the Pacers, and I will, because yesterday was a really good day for them. And hopefully it was the spark for Halliburton, and Halliburton did for him, and Halliburton did for his teammates what is necessary. He orchestrated. I did laugh at the Knicks, though, because they're going to run. Thibodeau's known for this. I always mention how much of a shelf life he has. But you talk about in November, driving his guys into the ground. I think they went 8 deep, but basically 6 deep. Miles McBride was a question mark and played like 29 minutes off the bench. So you think Karl Anthony Towns is going to last this season playing that much time in November? Thibodeau is going to run this bad boy right into the ground. But no, that was the best win of the season yesterday in front of the home crowd. IU ranked 5th. IU gets a week off and goes to Ohio State a week from Saturday. Nick says maybe the locker room really is broken and they're hoping Flacco can fix it. Yeah, I know. And I'm sure that they were very much unified when he threw that first series, first play, pick 6. Nothing quite unifies a disgruntled locker room like that, I'm sure. Now, this is just complete foobar, and they have done it themselves. JMV, it'd be nice if the head coach for once would tell the front office to stay the blank out of the decisions or who to play and just play the quarterback they want. I just can't imagine any football guy would not, by now, make the decision again, unless there is something so egregious on the inside. And see, that could be unfair right now to Richardson. He may have done nothing wrong, but just not know. But now we got all these wild-ass ideas about what really is going on because of the lack of transparency and what appears to be incredibly foolhardy decision-making. That's where we are. 239-1070. Jim is up next on line 2. Jim, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good, JMV. How you doing, buddy?
Jim, I'm great. Go ahead.
Hey, I was just going to put a couple of things out there. I don't know who this quarterback coach is, but it just seems like bringing in a 20-year-old who hasn't played that many games and basically he's gone through high school and college with just his physique and his natural physical abilities. It hasn't been put on the time on the field to see all these defenses. You would think right when he landed after we just picked him, he said, you think that they'd be giving him a quarterback coach and saying you're attached to hip.
Yeah, my man, he sat the entire year basically last year too. And I've always asked this, how do you not learn how to be and what they want from you? And McAfee said this earlier today. He just trusts that there aren't any professionals over there to teach him how to be a professional. And maybe that's it. He sat all last year and didn't learn how to be a professional. How the hell anywhere does that happen?
Well, yeah, especially, is there not like a young Bruce Arians out there that we could, I think we could afford it.
Bruce Arians would steer away from this place like the plague. Let me tell you. He wouldn't have anything to do with this group right now. None, zero.
I was just thinking if there's someone out there that you could go get.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Bruce Arians. I was just thinking that,
whatever they have right now, it's not working. I think we can all come to that conclusion, can't we?
Yeah, I don't even see why the quarterback coach is still employed with them.
Why do they have to be such an embarrassment? It's one thing to make foolhardy, wrong decisions, but then you also salt in the wound with some embarrassment added to it as well each and every time. That's just got to drive everybody nuts. Listen, I hear from enough fans. I am the absolute pulse, the heartbeat of the fan base around here, and I know how you guys feel. And you've been fed up for a number of years, and it is peak fed up right now. And what happens? It dovetails into, I don't care anymore, I'm not going, and this is done. That's where we're going, and that's called apathy.
Yes, sir.
Jim, thank you for the call. I appreciate that.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, I can imagine. We call Bruce Arians and go, yeah, okay. Wait a minute. I didn't like the quarterback out of college in the first place, and no, probably not. That would not be me. But he sat for an entire year, and in year 2, he doesn't understand the value of professionalism and what they want. What the hell's happening over there? Yeah, no, I like so many people. I understand where Kenny Moore is coming from, and I know everybody has Kenny Moore's back. And as far as guys in that locker room, I probably like him. I don't have friends anymore like that because that always ends badly with these guys. So I do try to stay away. I do like talking to them and interviewing them. But you look at Kenny Moore saying what Kenny Moore said yesterday, and while everybody shakes their fist and goes, yeah, Kenny, way to go, and his teammates back him up like Quentin Nelson backed him up, it is more embarrassment, and it turns this place even into more of a clown show is what it actually does. How could everybody together, all these so-called incredible football minds, not diagram with all these meetings and all this time, and I get 2.5 hours of sleep, and I sleep at the facility, and you can't come up with anything better than this mess? Seriously. That's where we are. With all these great football minds. Seriously, they're going about this like me and Jake went over there and tried to come up with something. But all these great football people, these men, and they're playing, and they're tough, and they're great, and all this stuff we have to hear all the time. And this is the path you've come up with. Do I need a break here? No, man, it's unfortunate. I do have more for you. I don't feel like crying and whining and complaining. I just don't know what else to do about it. If there were a sign, one sign of positivity, I would tell you, I'd jump all over it. I'd jump all over it like it was a dime and a crack in the sidewalk. I'd be all over that son of a gun. But they're just not. No redeeming quality right now. All right, quick break and we shall return. And listen, we pointed the finger everywhere. I mean, the common denominator here has been general manager and ownership. It's not the same path, but it's a similar path. General manager and ownership. That's where we are. All right, quick break. We'll come back. The Flying Toasters in Anderson. I got tickets for you there. That's a great local group. You will love that. What else do I have for you? Anything else today? Hell, I don't even know. I want to talk some Pacer positivity and IU football, which was great. The CBS shots of the landscape in and around Memorial Stadium, you saw in a distance Greene County. Greene County has never looked so good from 500 feet in the air. Let me tell you. You could not pick out one meth lab or one weed field. Not one. It was glorious. Quick break. Back with you next.
with JMV. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Listen, this is a humbling game. This league is tough. You're going to have to deal with, things like that from time to time. It's unfortunate. You don't want to put yourself in that situation, but, we can only look at ourselves. I can only look at myself in terms of why that's happening, and, it is what it is.
Hey, welcome back. Colts lose yesterday. Colts get the Jets coming up at 1 o'clock on the road. I think actually our pregame show is going to be at the back nine coming up on Sunday morning beginning at 10 a.m., but there's a lot of time between now and then to get to that. In fact, Thursday and Friday on the road, I mentioned Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. Dan Moyer called me, and we're going to do another $1,000 gift certificate for Week 11. So we're at the District Tap coming up on the north side Thursday. Would love to see you there for that. I am trying my damnedest, and I didn't get a no. I'm trying to get Chad Buchanan down there, the Pacer general manager, to hang around with us for a little bit as well. But we have 5 with an opportunity to get that $1,000 gift certificate from Moyer Fine Jewelers coming up later on tonight. Regarding the outcome of Monday Night Football, I will let you know coming up on tomorrow's show. But it looks like not just Week 11, but Week 12 is going to be covered as well because they really liked it, and so did you with a great response. And I will let you know when we fire that up once again. JMV, one thing that hurts the modern-era Colts, there's no one that can stand Irsay down. During the Manning era, Irsay owned the Colts, but it was Polian's team. Since then, it's been young general managers who lack the ability to keep Irsay out of the decision-making, and it shows. Man, that was one thing about Bill Polian. Bill Polian knew what was going on everywhere. And his Monday night show, think about that. There was no coach's show. There was no round table show as we have right now. It was the Bill Polian show every Monday night at 6 o'clock. He had complete and total control, no doubt. And the results were the greatest of all time around here. Elvis writes this: does anybody even want to see the Colts make the postseason at this point? Because I don't think I want to see the embarrassment of it. I think the fan base always wants to see their team win, so I'm not going to take that away. But as far as the product we have seen here recently and where it is going right now and trying to understand exactly what is going on, clearly without all the information, it just all seems very ridiculous. Line 3, Mike is in Brooklyn, New York. Mike, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, JMV?
Good to hear from you.
Overall assessment where I'm at right now, I think the problem is leadership, and I think when you really look at it rationally, I think these guys are kind of miscast in their roles, and it's time to accept it. I kind of like Chris Ballard, but I think he's just a scout, who's assumed the GM role. I think I like his Bill Polian approach of a homegrown team, but that RAS, that he relies on, I think it's. I think he looks at himself like he's, the money ball of the NFL.
Yeah.
And, and Shane Steichen is absolutely a long line of guys who should be coordinators, like Frank Reich. He's like Frank Reich 2.0, And I think that's all he really cares about is the offense, and when you hear a guy week after week going out there with the same thing of it's on me, it starts with me, I don't ever recall guys like Bill Belichick and Jimmy Johnson and Bill Parcells ever having a conversation. You're the head coach. We know you starts with you. You don't get paid to evaluate yourself. So I think that's where it is. Leadership. Finally, somebody on the team took some leadership role. Kenny Moore and all that. They probably should have did it after the Packers game.
Yeah. Yeah, they could have done it. They could have done it earlier. There's no doubt. Hey, Mike, I do have a question for you. Did you feel this way all along about Steichen, or has this been kind of a new thought regarding him?
I thought he was going to be like a good offensive mind. I think he will go somewhere and be a good offensive coordinator. So I did like the idea of it with teaming him together with Anthony Richardson, just like pretty much everybody else. What's baffling to me is that, as you guys know, because you watch it as closely as I do, why would you have an offense designed for Anthony Richardson, but have him be like, it's not the offense that I was looking for, like RPOs and running him around, and with Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, it's just pretty much drop back,
there's like square peg and a round hole kind of approach. And like I'm a non-believer in Richardson, but I as far as putting things together offensively, that was part of the questions that now we have, which has turned into more than just a couple of questions regarding that. And I think that to me now he's going to get swept up in all of this if things somehow, some way don't improve, and it's tough to see that happen.
They got to let it play out. They got to let it play out this year. Maybe a miracle happens. Nobody could expect it. It's probably really Irsay probably was just done. Is probably like you said. Well, not that you said, but if you put it in context, Irsay probably is just done with Richardson, and the tap out. The season should be called the tap out. I think Richardson tapped out. And looks like everybody else tapped out along with him.
Yeah, it's funny too. I think about this. When he felt that way about Wentz, it was the season was over, and then he was done with Wentz, and there was no more Wentz. That was it. And it almost feels like, even though we're in the middle of the season, there's a lot of time to have to cover that up. There was no time to cover that up. You could just let him float off into the universe, and basically it was going to be over. But with Richardson, you have to keep coming up with ways to explain, even through some of the worst quarterback play the past couple of weeks we've seen all season, you have to explain away exactly why you don't want to see any more of the 22-year-old out there and, your future, supposedly. And you can tell with Steichen trying to answer questions, it's becoming more and more difficult for him to come up with words to express what the hell's going on and why they're handling this the way that they are.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I think really the only thing that you could do is just play it out, and then at the end of the season, but let's not go down that road again where you're saddling a GM with a head coach that he didn't pick. If one goes, everybody has to go, and you have to start over. And a lot of those players, you might have to have a fire sale.
Yeah.
I mean, and nobody is untouchable.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, I mean, the whole running back mentality with anybody, that's going to sail too. So.
Yeah, if I was Irsay, I would be saying, why am I paying all this money to this guy? If you can get a third, fourth round pick at the year for Jonathan Taylor, Quentin Nelson, and just start bare bones, and then you say, well, we're evaluating and we're building for the future with from the bottom up.
Mike in Brooklyn, New York. Thanks for listening, man.
All right, JMV, thank you.
That's 239-1070 is the number. James is on line 4, is up next. James, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. How are you, James?
Great, James. Go ahead.
Well, I think you're right about this. People are going to get pretty tired of this. I've got friends who get season tickets, and I go to a lot of the games with them. And it's kind of hard to sit through them sometimes, And basically, I mean, they're ready to throw the whole team away. But I mean, there's something that's almost unexplainable. We've only lost by more than one score once. And we wouldn't have lost by more than one score yesterday. Steichen makes some terrible calls. Terrible calls. I mean, I don't know anything about football, but I knew on that the last game we played Houston, you're not going to throw a pass right before half when you're on their 12-yard line and you had 34 seconds. And he almost threw an interception before that.
You know what, James, what's funny about that is a year ago, if we were going to be critical, it was about the play calling, about being too aggressive, and that was kind of excused away. Well, he's an aggressive guy, and that's how he's going to be. And it wasn't mismanaging or bad decision-making. And now with all this, now it's mismanaging and bad decision-making. It's no longer he's just too aggressive. Now he's just not good at his gig. It's interesting how that's transitioned in over a year.
Well, I think people believe that anyway. I mean, yesterday, right before half, they're ready to take a knee and go off the field and call a timeout with 30-some seconds to go. And we gave them the desire to go after that field goal they got right before half. That's crazy. Right before half, he's done that twice now. That hurt us with a score within 30 seconds of the halftime. He's given somebody a score, which it didn't need to do it. We could have took the knee on the Houston game.
James, I got to hit a break here, my man. You call anytime, though. Thank you very much for doing so. I mentioned this, too, a little bit earlier. Jeff Saturday was on a podcast, and you can kind of tell he's angling with his comments and placing the blame on Ballard. And then Pat McAfee goes off organizationally and apologized for what he had said about the helmet tap and being critical regarding Richardson for that, and blames the organization for not being professional enough to teach Richardson how to be professional. So this is just complete and utter foobar. This comes from an angle in which things I would never think. I never thought that Pat McAfee wouldn't say something. That's one thing I thought he would never say, was that. Listen, and it does come both ways. It is organizationally, and it is on the quarterback. And all I'm saying, I've made my decision on Anthony Richardson. You know, even with what we have seen, and that's all we have to go on. However, I don't understand how, with what is remaining here, you don't put him out there to see more. And it can be proven either way. It can back up what I and a lot of others believe about him not being it, or it could save Chris Ballard's gig again. To me, I think him working out in some incredible stratospheric, lucky as hell way and save Chris Ballard, that's the way to do it. I don't think the way to work it, like Jeff Saturday referenced, you know, guys that want to see Flacco, you know, to save their gigs and things like that. I mean, Steichen doesn't need Flacco to save his gig, does he? Did he need that? No, Ballard was going to get that blame. So Ballard needs Flacco to save his gig. Ballard needs Richardson to save his gig. Because you're going to get cut loose after 8 ridiculous years anyway, because number 4 overall was that pick if it doesn't work out. If it does, you'd have a new lease, wouldn't you? You'd have a new lease, much like this team would. So why is Flacco swooping in supposedly to save Ballard? That should be the 4th overall selection the year before last. It doesn't make any sense to me. Quick one, we'll come back with you. Pacers a winner last night over the Knicks. A light week for the Pacers. Back at it Wednesday. We'll go over that. And IU ranked 5th in the nation. Week off. They're on the road at Ohio State a week from Saturday at noon in Columbus. We got a busy week for you as well. Quick break. We'll come back. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Boy, boy.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Joe's a veteran guy, like I've said. You know, he's had 2 games that he'd want back. But again, you know, he goes out there, throws some good passes. Obviously, the interceptions, there's, 3 of those. You know, there's 2 that he'd want back. Again, you just stick with it. You grind through the process of this whole thing, man. It really is a process. So we're going through that process right now. And right now, Joe's still our guy.
It's Shane Steichen, the starter Sunday at 1 against the Jets, Joe Flacco. That said earlier today, Stephen Holder's going to join us at ESPN top of the hour. Ben writes this: I ate my ticket yesterday, showed up at a tailgate at 10, 12:45, decided to stay in the parking lot and watch the game on TV. Most fun I've had on a game day this year. Really sad state of affairs. From Alexander, when they said, quote, best chance to win, maybe they meant something else because they aren't winning games. JMV, I had to laugh when Pat just blatantly said, quote, the Colts blanking suck. JMV, if I cared what the punter thought about anything, I would watch a show. JMV, the Colts issue makes no sense. Is it possible Steichen said, quote, hey, Richardson stinks and so does Ballard, in an attempt to save his job? I think this got owner written all over it to me. And there's got to be something else, even more than what I've explained to you about punctuality and leadership and professionalism. And again, that's not coming from the Colts side. I get 0 there. That's coming from the other side. And that was said to me, this is some things that our guy has to learn. Evidently learning it from the sideline. 239-1070 is the number. Give me a Pat here, top of the list, line 1. Hello, Pat. How are you?
Hey, JMV. How you doing today?
Pat, great. Go ahead.
All right. First of all, I've been a season ticket member for like 18, 19 years. I just got my season ticket packet today.
Yes.
They want to raise my tickets for this product $200.
Yeah.
They're making it real difficult for me. They're going to make a real hard decision on what I'm going to do. You know, I too enjoy tailgating. I love the atmosphere down there. It's a huge commitment, and it's a big outlay of cash.
Yeah. Now, would your mind change? What would change your mind from declining this? I mean, is it just like an accumulation of what has transpired, or is there anything in particular as to maybe deciding not to re-up here? Just out of curiosity.
Just the sheer number. I mean, it was just over 12 last year. Now they want over 14. $100.
And I think this is for everybody, right? By the 15th, is there a first payment due, from what I've been told accurately?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, guys are making it hard on us. I mean, you know, I'm not the richest man in the world. I get by. I do what I got to do to get by, but, you know.
Hey, man, you got, I mean, you only have so much disposable income. Life's a real thing here, you know?
Exactly.
And that's, you can't worry about jacking around with a football team that you don't trust right now. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I think everybody understands this. Sometimes real life gets in the way of just us having fun, man, no doubt.
Right. I'll take the May off and go to the Speedway. Yeah.
All right, well, hey, keep us updated on what you decide here, brother.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, quick break. We'll come back. Stephen Holder, your calls on the other side. Stay right there. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
And the beat goes on, yeah. And the beat goes on.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, we had a meeting this morning with those guys. I think anytime you lose, right, it's frustrating, especially 3 in a row, games that you could have won. But I think the biggest thing is you learn from that. You're going to go through adversity in every football season. You're going to have it, some more than others, and we're going through some adversity right now. But, we get to decide how this thing ends. We choose it as players and coaches of going through the process and grinding through it and getting ready for the Jets. And that's what we can control is getting better every single day and getting ready for the Jets.
It's Shane Steichen. Earlier today, Joe Flacco is going to be the starter again against the Jets on Sunday on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline right now. From ESPN, ESPN.com, Stephen Holder is with us. So what exactly the hell is this process he's talking about all the time here? What is it?
It's a secret, okay? We can't talk about it. It's a secret.
The process. And he was struggling for words today. He was struggling.
Well, he has often.
Yeah, he does. I mean, it's not like his vocabulary is that deep and wanted to talk to you guys anyway, but it seemed like it was a struggle today. But, it'd be nice to know what this process is.
On this subject in particular, he has struggled, I think, to articulate what he's trying to say. I don't know what to take away from that, but I do think that there has been a lack of direct messaging on this topic. And so, it leaves a lot of things open to interpretation. You can have a million different interpretations, but the one thing you can't say is that you've gotten a direct answer because we have not.
Has Anthony Richardson become Carson Wentz?
in terms of what? Persona non grata?
I mean, somebody high up doesn't like him.
Yeah, you there? I think I lost you there.
I'm here. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So I don't know. I will tell you this. We have these press conferences and we have, our public conversations that people see. But we also try back channels and try to get people to give us some details that are not public. And even that's been hard. Getting straight answers that way has been hard. And that's the thing that I think is interesting about this, because oftentimes, you're able to get some insight. I actually do think that unless I'm missing something, I do not see a smoking gun here in terms of X happened and Anthony got benched because of it. You understand? What I am seeing instead is it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But generally, I think the straightest way of putting it is what I've written all along, which is that he has some growing up to do in terms of the job of playing quarterback, the preparation during the week, putting in the time, all of that. But look, it sounds terrible to a degree. If you want to interpret that as something terrible, you can. Personally, though, I look at it this way. I say, okay, well, why can't that be something that you teach him on the job? Why can't that be something that he learns while he learns the off-the-field lesson while he's learning the on-field lesson? If you've got to dress him down, do that. If you've got to have a come-to-Jesus moment with him and say, this ain't cutting it, you got to do better, well, then do that. And that's what I don't quite understand. Did that happen? If it didn't, why not? And then in the interim, in the intervening 2 weeks, what has happened? And has that lesson or that message been set by now? And can he perhaps regain the job and move forward with that lesson in mind? I don't know. Those are things that are not being clarified for us.
So Stephen Holder of ESPN, ESPN.com. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. All right, so I'm going to go back. And I've told you a few things before, and this comes from the Richardson side of things. And there was recognition there that he needed to grow and be more professional and be more responsible. And that came from his side. As to what he needs to do, obviously can't be the last one there and the first one to leave. which I was told was an issue. Has to be on time for things, which I was told was an issue. Maybe not altogether. Sometimes digging those, off the field, hanging around. I was told that was an issue. But all things that, to me, you talk about something bigger, there not being something bigger. All things to me that by now you would think, and you combine that with the lack of positivity from Flacco and the results here, that would lead me to believe that the punishment, as severe, I guess, as it has been, should be over. So is it something else here?
Well, that's my point, is I don't believe that there is. I mean, it's always possible that there's something that we don't know. And I always operate with that possibility in mind. In any story, right? You have to. You always have to assume you don't know everything, because that's often the case. But, I mean, I don't even see any indication of anything else. So that's the thing that's weird. The only reason we think there might be more is because it's the only thing that would explain what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I don't know of anything else. And I would say even everything you laid out there, I mean, we don't have like specific details, but even if all of that's true, I actually am of the position that, yeah, he's young. He doesn't quite understand what's expected of him. He hasn't played the position that long, to be completely honest. Again, maybe he should know all these things. I don't know. Maybe that's a failure on his part that he doesn't know these things. But if he doesn't, he doesn't. Okay? And part of developing a quarterback is also developing them off the field as well. And I think there are ways to get the point across without maybe doing this. And I would say also, I mean, they started him from day one. All right. Were these things not evident then? And if there were shortcomings, why were they not dealt with prior to now? That's another fair question. I mean, you came into year 2 with him. You had him off season. Now he was recovering from the surgery last fall and rehabbing to a degree in Florida throughout the spring. But when OTA started back in April, the guy's been in the building since April. I mean, did we not have any sense that maybe there were some issues there? And why weren't they dealt with? Why are you dealing with this in week 6 of the NFL season, or 7, whenever this was, right? That's the part that I don't get. Whatever these issues were, they didn't crop up yesterday. You just let them go. And then you decided to deal with them by benching the guy in week 7 or 8. And so unless there's more they're not telling us, that is what happened. That doesn't make sense.
Does he and the offensive staff all get along?
I mean, I think so. I've never seen anything to the contrary. He's a likable guy, right? I mean,
yeah, there's no question.
Around, right?
No question.
I think he's coachable. You know, I mean, every indication is that he's coachable. You know, he loves life. He loves the job. I mean, that doesn't mean that he understands all the gravity of everything. I mean, again, I think there were some shortcomings there. That's fine. I think everybody agrees on that. But yeah, I don't see any sense of that. And I think that's part of why Anthony, from everything I've heard, was so taken aback by this, because he thought that they did have, a good working relationship and that things were good in that respect. And then when this happened, I think he was blindsided because of that. Now, maybe he wasn't reading the room. I don't know, right? I mean, he's a kid. But he was definitely surprised, I would say that, just on how it was handled. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Were they do you think they were trying to keep the locker room from unraveling, which now appears the locker room is unraveling with what Kenny Moore had to say yesterday, and then a couple of teammates sort of backed up as well. So it seems like that's happened anyway.
I actually am not so sure about that in terms of if you're asking if they were trying to prevent it from unraveling when they made the initial quarterback change. I don't sense that, because look at the reaction to the move. The reaction to the move was, wait, what? Right? I mean, that was largely, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but the reaction was, yeah, I was really surprised, like really surprised. Now, maybe teammates don't have all the details of what was happening behind closed doors in the quarterback room and all that. I don't know. I certainly don't have all those details. And I think if you play defensive end, do you know what's happening in the quarterback room? Probably not to a very specific degree. So maybe their surprise is expected, but I don't think his mistakes were tearing the locker room apart. I mean, here's the thing. You had a veteran team. You re-signed everybody. Before you did that, you talked about the vision, I would assume, right? I mean, if you're DeForest Buckner and you're signing an extension, I want to know what is the direction of the team, what's the vision, et cetera, right? Because he has that kind of juice. He can ask them, all right, where are we going? What am I signing up for? And if you don't give him a clear explanation of the vision, that is a failure on leadership. So I would assume those conversations happened, with the likes of Kenny Moore, et cetera, this past offseason before they signed contracts. Now, part of that vision was, hey, we got this young quarterback. He needs your support. It's going to be rocky. He's young. He hasn't played a lot, right? Ups and downs, all that. And what did they do? They signed up for that, okay? So they bought in. You asked them to do that. They bought into it, and they were presumably on board. And so when they open their eyes, when they go into it with their eyes open, you're to give you what you asked for, which is their patience and their commitment to the vision, and then you change it midstream, I think that would cause some consternation. So I think that's where we're at.
So Stephen Holder of ESPN.com on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So are we watching Shane Steichen kind of dissolve into Frank Reich in the minds and the eyes of everybody right before our eyes? Because now he has literally gone from like the penthouse to the outhouse in a matter of weeks here. From a genius to not being able to know anything. He's getting swept up by a lot of this as well because people believe what he says, that it's his decision. So my question would be, do you think, honestly, as I do not, this is entirely his decision?
I actually believe that it is. And so this is a little conspiratorial, but I mean, you know Jim Irsay, I know Jim Irsay, and I would say that when he makes a decision and that decision gets criticized, he speaks up. We've not heard a word from him. And let me tell you, I've tried, okay? The man has not surfaced. He has not responded to a call or text. It's very interesting. I don't know what's going on in his life right now. I don't know, what other things may be taking precedent. I have no idea. I don't know. But I'm telling you right now, I mean, when he made the change when he mandated, I should say, the change from Matt Ryan to Sam Ehlinger, we heard from him around that time. When he was getting roasted over the Jonathan Taylor situation and the holdout situation, right? He had a lot to say then, right? When he is indirectly or directly being criticized, he speaks up. He has not done that here. And the other thing is, I mean, I really do think that that Shane has the way it was explained to me is that Shane took the lead on this in communicating internally. So I really do think it is Shane. I mean, I reserve the right to be wrong because we don't know everything. Okay. All I'm saying is I see no indication that anyone else is involved. And, just based on what I know, which is probably not everything, but just based on what I know, I do not see that indication.
I will say this, that if his organization is being talked down, as certainly it has, he also would speak up. So it is his organization's being talked down in comparison to 2022 right now. So
yeah,
it makes me wonder. The other thing, Jeff Saturday today in a podcast was pointing the finger at Chris Ballard, and for obvious reasons, because I'm sure those guys don't like one another because of 2 years ago, and that's fine. However, wouldn't it be more beneficial for Ballard to again be thrown a life preserver and save his gig if Richardson were to turn out to be something in a flurry here down the stretch than Flacco playing and doing something and winning games for this team?
That's how I see it. Yes, I agree with you. I have always felt, and still do, that Ballard's fate was largely tied to the success or failure of his first-round quarterback. I mean, that's just true for a lot of people, right? I mean, the Bears have gone through this. Lots of teams have gone through this, right? So, teams in the Colts division have gone through it. Tennessee, Jacksonville, right? So, I think that's true here too. I mean, there was a mess in 2022. He was essentially given an opportunity to fix the mess. There's two big parts of fixing the mess: getting the coaching hire right and getting the quarterback right. So, the jury's out on the coach. We'll see. I mean, we're a year and a half in. We don't know what he is yet, I think. On the quarterback, we definitely don't know, and we're not any closer to learning is the unfortunate part. So I agree with you. I think I always assumed that's why Ballard was the one preaching patience. You know what I mean? Because the patience it worked in his favor, frankly. So pulling the plug on it is the opposite of what I would expect. So I don't know. I mean, I would say certainly Shane Steichen is about the here and now. So they don't always have the same goals. They're on different timelines. The coach and GM are on different timelines to a degree. They have different goals as well, right? So, I don't know. Maybe he's given his coach some leeway here to do what he thinks is right and just trusting his coach. That could be the explanation.
Now, does what Kenny Moore had to say yesterday, in particular, who do you think when you heard him say that? Anybody in particular you may be pointing the finger at? And I know he kind of backpedaled a little bit on social media afterwards, but it's still out there. In particular, you got any idea what group he may be talking about specifically?
Right. Not really. I mean, I don't want to speculate too wildly because I don't know. I think he was intentionally not specific. I think what he said had a lot of weight to it, but he was obviously vague, I think intentionally so, right? Because he didn't name names, and Kenny's really smart. He knows what he's doing, and so he intentionally didn't name names. Now, I will say I give it a lot of credence because there are lots of guys who get up in front of the microphone and say lots of things, and it may or may not have a lot of gravity to it, because they always have a lot to say, or some guys just are more talkative, right? Kenny is not that guy. Kenny has never done this that I can recall. I mean, maybe after the Jacksonville debacle with the Wentz Colts in 21, maybe. But of course, he was probably one of the worst performers in that game. So, so I don't know that he had a lot to say that day. Anyhow, I don't recall a time where Kenny did this, where he called out his team. I really don't recall that. There have been times when he said, we got to play better and, we're not getting it done. Sure, all those kinds of things. But this was like very specific. This was calling out effort, calling out preparation. That's saying we're not doing our part and we're just kind of skating by. That's what he's saying there. That's a huge indictment. So again, I don't know who he's talking about specifically. I will tell you this. I think the guys in that locker room know who the hell that's for. And it'll be very interesting to see if it ruffled feathers in a good way. You know what I mean? Do they come out with some fire? I don't know. But guys heard it loud and clear. We also talked to Quentin Nelson today, and he didn't exactly brush it aside. I mean, he basically embraced what Kenny said, and he says, yeah, we got to get it together. And everybody in that locker room, this is the last thing I'll say, everybody in that locker room, they really respect Kenny Moore. That guy plays hard. He punches above his weight, physically. He's a tough guy. He's having a good season too. So he has the credibility, I think, to say those kinds of things and not be sort of ridiculed like, oh yeah, you suck this year. Right? You can't really say that about Kenny Moore. He's actually playing very well. I'm glad he did it.
Is this at least on the path of being comparable to the clown show of 2022? Are we on the path right now?
Well, I think where it's comparable is that there have been decisions that have been made that people don't understand. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking about not even the firing. I'm talking about the quarterback changes. You know, that makes you look like, you know, people start making clown assertions when you start jerking around with the quarterback, you know. I think, and the other thing I would say is in terms of it fractures, I think, the trust with fans when people don't quite understand why decisions are being made. They start to question, you know, decision making and leadership and things like that. You know, and I'm not talking about me. I'm just saying, you know, I mean, those are the optics that you are faced with, you know, when you have a situation like this.
Yeah,
so,
I have I know you got to run here too. I have no idea how it would benefit Shane Steichen to make this decision and to be on board totally with Flacco right now. Somebody has going to have to explain me, because it seems like to me that this will sweep up Ballard to me at the end of the year. And if it sweeps up Ballard, it could ultimately sweep up Steichen because somebody new will come in here. I know how much Irsay has said in the past he likes Steichen, but clearly the shine is off of that right now, and who knows what it is behind the scenes with ownership. I just don't see how this decision is going to help Shane Steichen in the long run, considering what we think about him right now compared to what everybody used to think about him.
I will say this. All I know is that the next 7 weeks, I think, are the most important 7 weeks of his tenure, without a doubt. This will define him. It just will. You know, win or lose, whatever. I mean, how he navigates quarterback, all of it, right? It will define Shane Steichen as, you know, how he sits and his standing as the head coach here. So it's funny. I mean, he had 17 games last season that were largely impressive. I mean, you really can't quibble with the job he did last year. I thought he was pretty solid, and he actually pulled them back from a 3-game losing streak. It was a little earlier than this one. They're on a similar streak now, and so we'll see if he can figure that out. I don't know. I mean, but I do agree this will define him the next several weeks. And big game on Sunday. Who would have thought, right? The actual forest fire of the Jets is actually maybe their biggest game so far.
There's no chance he changes his mind Wednesday, right?
I don't know.
And there's no, like, I have this dream, and I know he'd be the emergency third-string quarterback, but and maybe it's a nightmare. I have this nightmare that Flacco goes down, that they don't even go to Richardson, they go to Ellinger. It's a nightmare, I know, but yeah.
Thankfully, they can't do that.
I know they can't do that, but it's a recurring nightmare that I have from 2 years ago. But yeah,
but listen, the fact that we had to clarify whether he would be the number 2 quarterback does say a lot.
Exactly,
right?
It does. Yeah.
So, okay, I do have to run, but I'll leave you with this.
Okay.
There is one alternate explanation to all this, and I shouldn't even say this, but you know, I don't know.
Let it fly.
In a good mood. So there is one alternate explanation, which is that Steichen is just done with Richardson and doesn't think he can do it. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Now, I don't believe that necessarily, but I actually do think that is one explanation that would make sense.
You know how solid you have to be in with the owner?
No one told me that.
Yes.
No, just be clear. No one said that. I haven't seen anything from Shane to indicate that. I'll just say but I mean, we have to consider all possible outcomes, right? All possibilities. So anyway.
Can you imagine how tight of an end you would have to have with the owner to make this decision up yourself like that?
For sure.
With showing nothing, you know, having no background here to be able to do that and really dissolving into what he is right now in the eyes of the fan base. Whoa. And believe me, I'm a non-believer in Richardson, too. I'm just not a non-believer in this situation. I'm thinking, what the hell? Might as well now. What do you got to lose right now? I mean, you need to. You didn't stick to the plan. Now you can get back from deviating from it. Now's the time to do it. Not doing it is wild. All right, buddy, go ahead and run. I know you got to go.
All right. Hey, good times.
Thanks for coming on right there. Stephen Older of ESPN, ESPN.com's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So what he said right there, that this is all Steichen. And then he added that at the very end. And again, that was just his opinion that maybe Steichen is done with Richardson. That is a lot on the plate right there. That is a lot on the plate of a guy that's proven nothing. And as I mentioned, has kind of devolved into like Frank Reich Jr. right now. And is Joe Flacco? See, that's the other part of the problem is, all right, so you don't like Richardson, but you like Flacco. What's Flacco done here, especially recently, to anybody buy what he had to say? And believe me, there's a lot of educated guessing going on. And so do I. I'm just giving you the nuggets that I know. But it seems like now would be the perfect time. Now more than ever to see what you have. So, I tell you, what Steven said there at the end of that, maybe that does hold a little bit of truth. Now's the time, and you're still not doing it. So why? If it's not the owner, it's not the general manager, and you do truly believe it's Steichen, there's some logic behind it. We'll get back to that coming up on the other side at 239-1070. We'll close it out with your calls, your chance to win Flying Toasters tickets. That is coming up, I believe, on the 16th. That's going to be in Anderson. Should be an outstanding time. What a great local band. You will love them. We'll give that away. Get you set for Colts Roundtable coming up at the top of the hour. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Ride with JMV.
The sportos, motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I don't think everybody is working as hard as possible, and obviously it's showing. I'm not the type to sugarcoat it, honestly. If I don't think the urgency is there. I don't think the details are there, so I don't think the effort is there, and I don't see everything correlating from meetings to practice to the games, and it shows.
Yeah, Kenny Moore right there from yesterday. We talked about that. Stephen Holder from ESPN, the podcast at 1075thefan.com. Joe Flacco, again, Shane Steichen alluding to Flacco starting against the Jets coming up on Sunday. That is a 1 o'clock start initially. It was a Sunday nighter. It was deflexed back to 1 o'clock coming up on Sunday. I think we're going to do the pregame show from the back nine, from what I understand. That is coming up on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. In fact, a couple of things before I get back to the phones at 239-1070. And note the Colts Roundtable. That is Joe, Rick, and Matt coming up here at the top of the hour. I will be on the road Thursday and Friday. Thursday, District Tap, Northside, Larceny Bourbon Locks, and that is, again, with Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel. We'll give away another $1,000 gift certificate for the winner of our Week 11 Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. In fact, Week 10 comes down the stretch tonight. I've seen all five names in the running to take home the $1,000 gift certificate. We're going to do this as we have this past week. We're going to do it again for Week 11, and then evidently for Week 12. Dan Moyer had gotten a hold of me and says he likes it so much, we're going to keep this thing going, along with our friends Brent Halverson and Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. So let that be known. We'll get you to sign up for week number 11 later on this week at MoyerFineJewelers.com. But we will, with Monday night, learn who ends up winning that $1,000 gift certificate courtesy of Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel, again, connected to the outcome of this Monday nighter. Friday show, that's a Bud Light Blue Friday whiskey business. South Side, that's Southport Road at I-65, again, coming up on the south side. On Friday, a Bud Light Blue Friday. 239-1070 is that number. If you've been waiting on hold, I'll get to you right here starting with Bill. Hello, Bill. How are you?
Hey, JMV, I'm doing great.
Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, which one of the shows is Too Hot Crew going to be at?
Oh, yeah. The girls?
Yeah.
Yes, Lindsay and Gina, I believe, will be at the District Tap on Thursday, and I'm trying to get – I didn't get a no. I don't know what I got. I kind of got – I'm thinking about it, and I'll try from Chad Buchanan of the Pacers. So we'll see if we can't get – everybody there for that Thursday at the District Tap on the north side.
Boy, that's going to be a good time.
Of course, I will note this. He was supposed to show up at a handful of pickup games, and he's yet to do that. So I'm not going to hold my breath, but we'll see on Thursday. We're going to try to get him to go down there and have some fun.
That will be a good time.
Yes.
And I wanted to talk about a couple different things. I think Richardson should be playing because there were some running lanes that were available in the game yesterday, and Flacco is just, he's just a statue back there. But Richardson, as his accuracy improves, that there were definitely some opportunities to pick up some yardage with the quarterback doing the scramble and doing the design run. So I think he should be back in there.
He should be back in there just for what the hell might as well. What the hell, you might as well. I would, and nobody's going to buy that as an actual way to decide things. But at this point, what the hell, you might as well.
And he's entertaining as well. And I want to talk about IU football and Pacers a little bit.
You're going to get the same outcome, by the way, because he is not the guy. So he is not the guy, just like Flacco is not going to be the guy. That's probably the most disappointing aspect of all this. They're nowhere near the guy. None. Not even close.
Not even close. I want to talk a little bit about IU football and this game coming up with Ohio State. IU's got the bye.
Yep.
And the winner of that game is most probably going to be in the Big Ten championship game at Lucas Oil Stadium on December the 7th against Oregon. And there's a lot of Heisman Trophy innuations and everything with both Ohio State's quarterback, of course, Rourke down in Bloomington. He's a candidate, and so is Oregon's got a quarterback that's big time as well. But, so that's going to be very interesting. But as far as the Pacer goes, Ben Shepherd, I thought yesterday in watching the game, I thought the minutes that he played, the dimension that he adds, the Pacers are just really, really deep. I mean, the Pacers organization has really, really built it.
What they go? Did they go 10, 12, 11, 12 deep? What did they do yesterday? And with all those injuries, and I made a note of this, Tom Thibodeau, like he normally does, will run these Knicks into the ground. They played a rotation. I know they went 8 deep, but really only 6, considering Miles McBride, I think, went 29 minutes, and he was questionable going in. They were pounded with starter and 6-man minutes, and you still saw the Pacers go deep with Quentin Jackson and Furphy and others with a little bit of time there yesterday.
It was good to see Furphy get out there as well, but the Pacers are a deep team and definitely one to be reckoned with. And once again,
you're talking about the Ducks and Dylan Gabriel a little bit earlier too as a possibility. It's been so incredible, such an incredible year. Yeah,
that would be an awesome time, December 7th down at Lucas Stadium, and 2 awesome times happening this week. One at District Tap,
yes,
and then one down at Whiskey Business.
My
business
man,
is always good.
Billy, I will see you there.
You bet.
All right, 239-1070. Yeah, go back to the Knicks yesterday. Look at the box score. They got a good starting, although Mikal Bridges, that's questionable. He was like an 0 for 3. I think he only had 7, 8 points. I'm just considering, if Miles Turner gets 14, you guys rip me about Miles. Miles Turner was really good yesterday, too, again. And Miles Turner's always really good. And shout out to the NBA officials, or lack thereof. Was it Nate Green that missed Josh Hart shoving McConnell out of bounds, and David Turner, the father of Miles, on the baseline, caught TJ going out of bounds and right in front of him. It may not have been Nate. I shouldn't say bad things about Nate Green, I guess. But, yeah, good win by the Pacers. Best game of the season. And they got it. Got a little helper in a variety of ways. And you look at the Knicks box score, and, again, basically 6 guys. Carter's next at 239-1070. Hello, Carter. How are you? Carter, join me.
I'm here with you.
Go ahead.
How you doing, JMV?
I'm good, Carter. Go ahead.
Hey, just want to say Happy Veterans Day. I got 2 nephews that are in the Marines and the Navy, and a good friend of mine that's retired from the Marines. So
yes, we all have, certainly family members and friends that certainly a tip of the cap and a salute on this Veterans Day for what they have done and what they continue to do, no doubt.
So I ran into you at the Final Third. Great place, by the way. Loved the episode. I will say this. I don't know why we're not using Richardson as the Saints used Hill with Drew Brees there. I feel like we could utilize him on these running downs, or just utilize him, period. I get the kid's young. He played, 20 games between high school and college. There's probably a maturity level there that needs to be met. But at some point, we got to utilize this kid because we're paying him money. We can't have him sit on the sideline. Even if you put him in on some running downs, and it helps Flacco pick out the receivers that he wants.
Well, the prerequisite would probably be to get back as a starter would have a completion percentage higher than me being in a calculus course, probably, which at 44% wasn't going to win anybody over. It seems like, and I'm a non-believer. I'm just suggesting what the hell might as well at this point in time, but it sounds to me, I said this back in the summer, if they ever benched him for whatever reason, anything besides being injured, that everybody's going to go and that he is not going to be the guy. And I'll maintain that we won't see him again until otherwise proven wrong. And then here we are. So
I don't want him as the guy. I want him as a.
Well, I don't think. Yeah, it doesn't appear they want him as anything right now. Even though they say, "Hey, great guy, great this and whatever," but you would think by now, if you were going to put him in, you would put him in where you would slot him to be, just for the sake of the season and knowing what Flacco has done recently, which is nothing. And again, as I mentioned, might as well at this point, but they haven't. So unless it's something really severe, I think we're receiving our answer on what they feel about him, and that's going to be a tidal wave that will sweep up a lot of people right there. That decision.
I think I mean, with Flacco, I think we're banking everything on that what he had with last year in Cleveland. Hoping that that's going to happen in Indy. But there's a lot of stuff that has to come into play with that, and we have to change it up a little bit to create a different atmosphere for this Colts team to get back into the situation that they need to.
Yep. Yep. Carter, thank you for the call. Come out and see us sometime soon. Colts Roundtable, top of the hour. We reboot this bad boy coming up tomorrow at 3, and we'll find out who wins that $1,000 gift certificate from Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel, and we're going to do that pick 'em again the next 2 weeks. So excitement abounds. Quick break. We'll come back. Stay right there. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
We're not going to fall for a banana in the tailpipe.
You're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe?
It should be more natural, brother. It should flow out like this. Look, man, I ain't falling for no banana in my tailpipe.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, number 9 at 239-1070. The Flying Toasters, a great local group, will be jamming Saturday, November the 16th, the Paramount Theater in Anderson, and I want you to be a part of it. How about a pair of tickets at 239-1070? A great group of folks, and you will love the show. You will be entertained, and you can listen on the way. And then at the end of On Your Way Home to the JMV Takeover, the final 2 for season number 4. That's coming at you on Saturday. But at Anderson, the Paramount Theater, November the 16th, number 9 at 239-1070 right now. You can go check out the Flying Toasters. Do that all week long. Love them. The closeout to week number 10, Dolphins and the Rams coming up later on tonight. And then we'll start getting ready for week number 11. Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel got a $1,000 gift certificate. And tonight's game, 5 individuals have an opportunity at this. I'm not going to name names, but I've seen the names. Actually, there are a couple of names on there I know. Not personally, but I recognize you from the show. But we have 5 remaining that could win that $1,000 gift certificate. And we'll see what happens on Monday Night Football. We're going to do that again coming up this week for Week 11. Then again, according to Dan Moyer of Moyer Fine Jewelers, Week 12. It has worked out fantastically. So be ready for that. That should be fun. IU ranked 5th this week. Get a bye week, Ohio State. That's a week from Saturday at noon over in Columbus. Pacers back at it after a win yesterday over the Knicks at home. Pacers on the road against Orlando. That's at 7 o'clock. Now, still going to have guys out. No Andrew Nembhard, no Aaron Neesmith with injuries that may end up, certainly with Neesmith, get them into December before they are back. And you saw some guys step up. But it was Matherin and it was certainly Halliburton, 38, 35 respectively. Miles had 26 and a win over the Knicks yesterday. Again, Pacers back at it. 7 o'clock on Wednesday versus the Orlando Magic. Meantime, 239-1070. If you've been on hold for a while, I'll try to get to you right here. Brian has been on hold the longest. Hello, Brian.
Hey, yeah. Hey, IU is going to play. They're going to beat Ohio State.
Okay, IU's beating Ohio State a week from Saturday.
Ohio State's defense is not nearly as tough and physical as Michigan's. It's going to rely on not IU's offense, but on their defense to stop Ohio State. If they can do that, if they can play them tough, IU is, I think, every bit as good as Ohio State.
Well, IU fans, most of which would probably agree with you. It has been a magical season. Went over Michigan on Saturday, again, a week off, and then they're going to get Ohio State on the road coming up on Saturday, a week from Saturday. All right, man, I appreciate your call.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Jim McCann, Southern California, writes this, and this is what Stephen Holder was talking about. From day one, Steichen as head coach, and this was with what he said with Nate Adkins of the Star, you have to hold people accountable. I think Shane feels that AR rarely, if ever, takes accountability. My read is Steichen is just plain old done with Anthony Richardson. Now, they did coddle him early, so this is the effect of no longer coddling, now getting down to business and being done with him. Jim McCann in Southern California, you guys have been fantastic today. Thank you for calling in. Even though the subject matter is not what you normally would really enjoy talking about, nonetheless, we have to. James, great job out of you. Back with you tomorrow. Colts Roundtable. That's Rick Venturi, Joe Reitz, and Matt Taylor coming up on the other side. And more, I'm sure, on the Colts and the Jets preparation for week number 11. And a lot more coming up on tomorrow's show. Your chance to win as well. Hope to talk to you tomorrow at 3. That's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Have a great night.